started. My name is Kevin Johnson. I'm the CEO of Mountain View Hospital, and it's my honor to be here to moderate this town hall meeting. So I want to welcome all of you. Appreciate your taking time to come and to discuss issues with us and to hear from our distinguished guests, who I will introduce here in a minute. I want to thank the combined efforts of the Spanish Fork Salem Chamber, the Springville Chamber, and the Payson Chamber for they're kind of the thought behind this and the organization behind this. We really appreciate their interest in politics and in the welfare of our communities, and for them sponsoring this event. I also want to thank Revere Health and Scott Barlow for our breakfast this morning. They're a great partner and always provide a great breakfast, so thank you, Scott. And then Rick Nielsen and Nebo School District for providing this beautiful building for us to meet in. We appreciate the venue, and it creates a great atmosphere for us to be able to share thoughts and discuss issues. So grateful for them. I'd ask you, if you would, to please silence your cell phones and be courteous. You also have on your tables, and I'll probably mention it again, but I want to make sure I mention it, you've got pens and papers, and anybody that ends up sitting in the back, which we don't have anybody yet, but they may need to share some of that. So if you got somebody there and they need a question or want to write down a question, please maybe hand some paper and a pen to them. But what we'd like you to do is, as you have questions through the morning, just write them down. If you have a particular legislator you want to address that to, put their name at the top. And we'll be gathering those throughout the morning and taking them up to them to be able to address questions. We'll talk about that a little more later as well. To get started this morning, we want to open with a prayer and then a pledge of allegiance. And we've got Hugh Black, who's going to offer our prayer, and then immediately following that, Nathan Ivey will come up and lead us in the pledge.
Our Father in heaven, we are so grateful for the opportunity we have to meet as the community, as citizens, to hear from these wonderful representatives and senators. We're grateful for those who have put this together, provided this forum for us to learn more about what is going on in government. We're grateful for our representatives and senators that are working so hard to protect our freedoms. We pray now for thy guidance and spirit at this time. Pray for these things, and pray for all those who may be mourning at this time, for those who have passed on in the service. Pray for these things humbly in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Please rise and join me in the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you, Hugh and Nathan. Appreciate that. I think we have our guests here with us. I'm going to introduce them here in a minute. I think the only one that we might not see this morning is Senator Okerlund, and he represents Genola and Arts out there and lives quite a ways south, so I don't know if he may show up if he's able to make it, but we do have 6 of our legislators here. Before I do that, I want to share a quick story with you. A few years back, there was a junior high school principal who had a particular problem in her school, and what the problem that she had was she had young ladies in her junior high school who would gob on large amounts of lipstick, and they would go into the girls' bathroom and they would kiss the mirror and leave these great big lipstick kisses on the mirror in the bathroom. And she was trying to figure out how to communicate to them that that was unacceptable behavior and try to get that problem to be resolved. And so she did a number of things. She started with an overhead announcement and basically explained that that was not acceptable and wouldn't be permitted, and asked those young ladies that were involved to please cease and desist and quit leaving those lipstick kisses on the bathroom mirror. That really didn't get very good results, and so she typed up a memo or a letter, and she sent it around to each of the classrooms and asked each of the teachers to share that memo in their classrooms and urge these young ladies to not not continue with that practice. That really didn't get great results either, and so she got a good idea, and she kind of knew who the culprits are for the most part, but she also knew that if she could figure out a way to communicate to a few, the word would spread. And so she gathered as many of them as she thought maybe were responsible, and she marched them down to the girls' restroom. She took them in there and lined them up in front of the mirror and proceeded to explain to them and said, you know, this is really not acceptable, and I want to show you what Janitor Bob has to do every time you leave lipstick kisses on the mirror. So she turned to Bob, and he had his janitorial cart, and he walked over and pulled out a great big long squeegee, and he went over and dipped it in the toilet and proceeded to clean off the kisses off the mirror. And needless to say, the problem was resolved, and they didn't have a problem with that anymore. Sometimes when we want results, we have to figure out ways to communicate better, and that's really what we're about this morning. This Bills and Bagels activity that we started a number of years ago is an opportunity to communicate better in hopes of having better results. And so with that, I want to introduce our guests. We have with us Senator Deidre Henderson. Wave, Deidre, thank you. Senator Henderson represents District 7. As I said, we don't have Senator Okerlund here yet, but he may join us. We have Senator Hinkins. Appreciate him being here, representing District 27. We have Representative Norm Thurston. Representative Thurston represents District 64. Representative Francis Gibson. Francis here, thank you. Represents District 65. Representative Mike McKell.
Thanks, Will.
Representative McKell represents District 66, and Representative Mark Roberts from District 67. So thank you for being here. Let's give them a round of applause. Appreciate them taking the time. The format we're going to follow this morning is a town hall format, and so what we're going to do is we're going to give each of our legislators 3 minutes to address us with the things that they feel are important, that they would like to share. It is going to be timed. We have a timer. Let's see, a timer right here in front. This young man, great. So he's going to be giving you prompts. At the conclusion of each of you taking 3 minutes, and actually while you're taking those minutes, I mentioned earlier the papers on your tables. If you'll write down your questions, and if you have a particular legislator you want to address that question, write their name at the top. We will have several people coming around, and just hold those up when you have them ready. And we'll have Adina and Carrie will go around and gather those, and they'll bring them to the front, and then they'll distribute them to the appropriate legislator. So following the 3-minute introduction, we'll answer as many of those questions as we can get to. We're going to give you a 1-minute time limit, and again, our timer over here is going to keep you honest and give you prompts. And then at the conclusion of the questions, which will take about 25 minutes total, we'll begin a wrap up right around 8:30, and we'll give each of our legislators 2 minutes to kind of wrap up, and then we'll conclude. So with that, we're going to go in order of how you were introduced, if that's okay. So we'll start with Senator Henderson.
Thank you. I feel like I'm in a debate. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. We just wrapped up day 12, I guess, of our legislative session. First 2 weeks have gone by really fast and furious, and it's been really fun. There's a lot of big issues that we'll be looking at this year. You've probably read about some of them, heard about some of them. A few things that I'm personally working on I deal a lot with government transparency. Transparency is important to me. So I've got a bill that essentially wraps in all of the government entities that are currently exempt from posting their revenues, expenditures, and staff salaries on the transparency website, the state transparency website. There are about 280 entities that are currently exempt because we decided that there was a budget threshold. If you had a budget of less than $1 million a year, you didn't have to post to the transparency website. That was a number of years ago. And I figured it's 2016 now, and every single one of these entities has to post their public meetings to the public notice website. They already have to put stuff on the web, so it's time to wrap them in and make them accountable also for the public funds that they use, just like every other government entity is. And so I've got a bill dealing with that. Also have a bill dealing with some of the commissions and the boards that we have in the state, particularly with the Department of Health. So there was a Supreme Court ruling last year that said boards and commissions do not enjoy state action immunity for anti-competitive behavior if they don't have adequate oversight by the state. And so I'm just taking some of those boards and commissions that fall into that category under the Department of Health. There's 5 of them, and basically changing kind of the authoritative structure, giving more oversight by the state to those boards and commissions so that we don't have anti-competitive behavior going on with those boards. I think I don't have time now, just about, so. Oh, I have 30 seconds, fantastic. Anyway, I will yield my time to David.
Tell us about your intern before you do that.
Oh, my
This
intern.
is totally cool.
Okay, so my daughter came home for permission 2 weeks ago, 5 days before the legislative session started, and she is my intern. So it's been so much fun to have her on the Hill. I stay at the Little America Monday through Friday during the session, and she stays up there with me, so it's like I'm her last companion. This is her last transfer, and it's been really fun for me. I hope it's been fun for her. But we'll see. She wouldn't tell me otherwise.
I guarantee it has. I talked to her yesterday, actually, on this cousin for a minute. She's having a ball. It's great. We live like sisters more than brother and daughter. So, I'm David Hinkins, and I live down in Barron, Utah. I represent District 27, which takes in Springville and Mapleton, Covered Bridge, and Birdseye. And then also I cover Wasatch County, which is the south end of the county, which is Daniel, Charleston, and Timberlake. And then I cover Carbon Emery, San Juan, and Grand. So I've got a pretty big district. I probably don't get up here as much as I should, but I'm here as often as I can. I run an electrical motor repair business, which we repair motors for the coal mines and power plants in the Carbon Emery area. We service some of the mines and coal-fired power plants, as well as the gas-fired power plants. We service all the gas industry, and so so therefore, I guess that's why I serve as a co-chair with Representative McKell on the appropriations chairs of the natural resources, which is over Department of Environmental Quality as well as agriculture. I'm also involved in agriculture. I raise cattle and horses and involved in the community down there in the agriculture business. So that's mainly been our focus for the last 2 weeks is on our budget, and it looks fairly reasonable. We won't know exactly the prices of the money that we're going to have to be able to allocate until I think next week sometime, I think Thursday or Friday. And so we've been listening to all the departments, agriculture and Department of Environmental Quality, and also we also represent the zoo, and so that's one of the new things that was put into our committee this year was the zoo, and so it's been kind of interesting of some of the things that go on. It's kind of a diverse state. We're in pretty good shape from what we've been told, and so we hope that there is some money we're not going to have too many big cuts. So I'm just glad to be here. I'm glad that you guys are involved in politics to get up this early in the morning and come out. I'm sure there's other things most everybody else is. I see a whole bunch of snowmobiles headed down the road this morning, and so you guys are pretty dedicated to be here and to listen to us, and we hope that we are informative to you, and we hope we represent you well. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Norm Thurston. I'm representative from District 64, which covers south part of Provo and the north part of Springville. Big issue for me this session has been so far education funding, issues related to that. So I'm on the Public Education Sub-Appropriations Committee, and I most of the time feel fairly powerless being in there because it's a strange committee, just put it that way. But one of the things that I have been advocating for, I'm going to have to step backwards. A lot of people don't realize, but the way the state budget is structured, this year, for at least this year, the last stop on all of the budget trains, whether you're on natural resources, agriculture, or anywhere else, the last stop on that train is the per pupil funding of students. So if you think about this, every dollar we spend upstream of that train is one less dollar that makes it to the end of the line. And the very last thing that's going to get funded is the weighted pupil unit of the for the students. So and that's in particular in our committee, we have an endless, just literally endless parade of people who have new ideas that will require state funding. And there's no question that some of those are great ideas. Some of those need to be funded, they need to be done. But every time we consider one of those requests, we have to anticipate that that is going to impact at the end of the train the per pupil student funding. And that's very difficult for me to have to kind of balance the good ideas, the ones that need to be funded, the ones that don't. And it's tough. It's a tough decision to protect that end of the road. And I think a lot of people here would appreciate. I think those of you who've been following this for a while understand what WPU is and what it means. And you'll hear that phrase thrown out. And then we would like to get a higher percent increase in WPU. We'd like to get a higher percent increase in WPU. Just remember that the only way that happens is if you go all the way up the line and don't spend money somewhere else, because everywhere else, and that's everywhere, all over the line. So I've been trying to figure out a way to help get more of the money to the end of that train line, to the WPU. And it's a tough fight. I don't know what's going to happen this year because we don't have final revenue forecasts yet as to what we're going to be able to do. And I think it's on all of our minds to be able to get more money for public education. But that is part of the issue that are going on. And I just also want to throw out something that happened this week that everybody needs to wear. So yesterday, Friday at noon, everybody's bill files, all of these secret things we've all been working on since last March or April, that's all now public. So if you go to le.utah.gov, go under bills and under filed bills, you can see all of everybody's bill files. At least there was a way to take them off. If you wanted to abandon it and stop working on it, you can go there and you can see that. If you look at my list, and I'm out of time, I'm going to go over 10 seconds. If you look at my list, you'll see a bunch of stuff that I will not get done this session. That's one of the advantages I have of being the new guy. I got more years to come. So there's a lot of 2-year, 3-year projects on there. And if you have things that you need addressed, let me know. I'm happy to put more on that list and start working on more things for next year. But there's a nice long list of things that will not get done this year. Hopefully, I will thrilled to get 2 or 3 major things done this year, and then work all over the summer to try to get 1 or 2 things done next year. Thank you.
Representative Gibson. House District 65 is the eastern part of Spanish Fort, Covered Bridge, all of Mapleton, and Springville up to about 400 North. And so this is my 8th session, and I was elected to be the majority whip in the House last year, and so this is my 2nd year to serve in that position. I guess one of the things that position requires of me is to have lots of different meetings with people asking for money. And they feel like I'm on the executive appropriations, and so I can somehow wave a wand and give them the money that they need. And there are some things that are laudable and probably should be funded, and there are lots of things that I just politely listen and say thank you for your time. But I'm my intern this year. She's keeping a running total. I don't know if I'm writing a book or a poem, I haven't decided yet, but we're up to 31 different subject areas that I've met with just 2 weeks. Anything from fantasy sports to marijuana to traffic tickets to, there's just a litany. And I didn't bring the list with me. Maybe next time I'll just kind of go through some of them. And so I'm always amazed there'll be something new. And I'm like, hey, write that one down. I haven't heard that one yet. And so lots of them. Through last week, there were about 1,200 bill files that were open. Now, we will not hear that many bills. I'm hoping that we don't hear that many bills. But as Representative Thurston said on Thursday at noon, everything came clean. And so you were able to see everything that everyone was doing. This is the most bills I've ran in 8 years, and I think I have 8. And 2 of them were bills that were ran last year that just died. It's weird, as the majority whip, it's my job the last few days to kind of control what goes to the Senate and what bills are being heard and what bills don't need to be heard. And that kind of comes to a prioritization list, and I guess a few of mine didn't need to be heard last year, and I just kind of let those die. 2 of the bills that I have this year, I think, are for me 2 of my bigger ones. I have a bill that will be heard in committee tomorrow, and it's dealing with solar power. Rocky Mountain Power has traditionally made it very difficult for people to have residential rooftop solar. And I look to break that open a little bit tomorrow or Monday. And so that bill will be heard, and what it does, it allows Vivint or Solar City or some of these other solar companies to be able to act as a utility, to be able to buy and sell power to go back and forth. But it also addresses, to some degree, net metering. Net metering is, we produce power all day, we put it into the grid, and then at nighttime, when we don't produce power because of solar, we have to be able to tie back into Rocky Mountain or Springville Power or whatever the power company, what's that say, 30 seconds? Oh, wow, quick, thank you, I'm done.
Thank you, Representative Gibson, and it's great to be here. Mike McKellen from here in Spanish Fork. Let me say one thing before I start. We actually have a few candidates here. I want them to raise their hand because I'm going to talk, but if you guys want to corner these guys afterwards. Marcus Jessup works for Senator Lee. Raise your hand. Kelly Nielsen works for Congressman Chaffetz. I saw Corey Malloy. You're going to be the only one here from Lehigh, but Corey's running for legislature, and Nate Ivey is in the back. Raise your hand. Running for county commissioner. So tag these people all down afterwards. But let me start by saying it's been an honor and privilege to serve with. Where's my other candidate? Who did I not see? Raise your hand. Tell me what you're running for. County Commission. Oh, Mike, it's right here. Terrence just gave this to me. Okay. Let me tell you, it's been an honor to serve with Senator Hinkins in Natural Resources. So we are the appropriations chair. He's the Senate version, and I'm the House version, and it's been a pleasure to work with him. One of the issues that we continue to see a lot of debate and discussion, especially as we started the session, public lands. Senator Hinkins actually serves as the chair of our Stewardship Commission. They deal with public lands. That's one of the funding items that comes through our committee. And as I look at our budget, it's healthy. There's still money there. So one of the challenges we face in our committee that we've seen in the first week of the session, oil, gas, and mining in our UGS office are strongly driven by royalties. And in the Uinta Basin, there's about 3,000 jobs that have been lost. You've got the federal government with some of the leases and coal, both natural gas and coal, that they're not renewing, and it's a major issue. So we've got some funding issues for UGS, oil, gas, and mining. But it's not lost on me that whatever funding issue we have that ties in royalties, that's 3,000 real jobs. So that's something that we're going to tackle over the next 2 weeks. I approached this session a little bit different. As I started the session, I thought, what is something I really want to work on? What is something I really want to make a difference and help with? And I saw Scott Barlow. I reached out to Scott. I reached out to other people. Opiate abuse in Utah. Okay, we are 4th in the nation right now for prescription drug deaths. And we were higher than that, and our number hasn't dropped, but other states have actually surpassed us. We're number 1 in the nation for prescription drug deaths among our veterans and members of the military. And so I've opened up 2 bills. They're actually going to be heard in committee on Thursday. I've got an opiate overdose response program. In 2007, 2008, Representative Dodd from Orem actually put some money into fighting opiate abuse, and the death rate actually dropped by 27%. And once that money dried up, the numbers shot back up quickly. There's some new drugs called noxolone, and it's a drug that is a reversal. It's like Narcan. It's an opiate reversal drug. Oh, I'm already over. So ask me that question. Somebody write that down. I want to talk about this further, but thank you. Thank you. Let me tell you, to get extra time, I do have a bill that says that 12-year-olds now can apply to hunt in lifetime and limited entry hunts. We dropped that from 14 to 12, so extra time for that. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Reverend Kel. 3 minutes? I'm Representative Mark Roberts. Trying to think what I can say today. Representative Gibson kind of sparked my interest on a trend that I've been seeing going on the last few years in the legislature, dealing with new technologies that are being developed and entering the market, and new ways of doing business because of new technology that is enabling entrepreneurs to do things a bit differently, and they're trying to find their way in the market, and they're having a hard time with the existing regulatory framework, fit into the existing framework. Vivint's a great example of this, with the solar panels and new ways that you can power and your homes and whatnot. Trying to fit into the existing laws that we have on the books. We're having to work with our existing regulatory framework to make that work. Tesla is another big example that we dealt with last year. Representative McKell did a lot of good work on new car dealerships. Tesla's new business model. It's a new way to sell. It's the manufacturer direct to the consumer. They're not using a franchise or a middleman to sell their cars. Well, there's no way to do that in our existing regulatory framework in the state. So we're trying to figure out how to do that. There's other issues like Airbnb and VRBO, which are if you're familiar with those services, they're rental services where you can rent out your homes for vacation people and different things. I'm actually staying in a VRBO up across the street from the Capitol this session. It worked out great. Found it online, and it works great. But it doesn't always fit in with the existing regulatory framework we have. There's a lot of direct-to-consumer, manufacturer-to-consumer things going on. We're trying to figure out how to make this work with our existing environment, existing businesses, and it's just been interesting for me to watch that. I have some bills similar to those, along those lines, new business models, ways of doing things, or trying to change those. I'll talk about a few real quick, about 30 seconds. I've got a bee bill dealing with beehives, and there's more and more people nowadays raising bees or backyard beekeeping, and in the state of Utah it's unlawful to raise bees unless you register with the state. One of the problems is nobody realizes and knows this, and so we're just changing it to voluntary registration with the state and removing the unlawful aspect of it. I have a bill dealing with motor vehicle sales on weekends. It's illegal to be open on both days of the weekend in the state, and there's some used car dealerships that would maybe like to see that changed. And I got another food bill that I can talk about later, but I got the stop signal.
Okay, thank you. So Carrie and Adina will be bringing questions up and putting them in front of you. I think what we'll do to make this as simple as possible is we'll start on the right. Senator Hinkins, if you have a question, you go ahead and do it. If you don't, it's okay to pass and go to the next, but we'll just kind of go in that order, and then we'll circle back again and just kind of keep in that rotation. Again, we remind you, we'd ask you to take just a minute to address that question, and we will have you timed. And so looks like Senator, for right now, we'll pass on it. Is that okay?
Yeah, pass them around if it's not your expertise. That's just the person that they thought would be best.
Okay, Representative Gibson, you want to start?
Sure, I've got a few of them here. I see that this seems to be the record for today. So just really quick, there are two relative to the solar. I mentioned what is your proposal on how net metering will work for solar customers? And the other one says any update on solar net metering and fee and tariff regulations. And so I brought this bill up last year. I knew that this was going to be a mega fight against Rocky Mountain Power, and working with some of the municipal power companies as well. I knew it was something that was going to take a while. I brought this up the very last week of session. You already got me on the clock? I didn't wear my glasses, so you're just going to have to tell me if it says occasionally, okay? So really quickly, I met 13 different times this off-season. I had those documented, 13 meetings with Rocky Mountain Power and various other municipal power companies, and working with Vivint and some other solar people out there. The Public Service Commission is the one who sets the net metering fees. The very first meeting we had, Rocky Mountain was insistent that Vivint Solar allow the Public Service Commission to determine what the net metering fee was. And really quick, just for point of reference, a net metering fee is this. Even though I can, in state law currently, if I produce, let's just say 1,000 kilowatts, if I use 1,000 kilowatts of power at my house per month, in state law currently, I can only get a solar system that will offset up to 90% of that power. I can only go to 90%. So if I use 1,000, I can get a big enough solar outfit on my roof to produce 900 kilowatts per month. So that means I still have to buy 10% from either my municipal power company or Rocky Mountain Power Company. And I pay a fee to stay connected. Rocky Mountain says, well, I have poles and I have wires that we've invested in, and those continue to need to be paid for. I do agree with that. The very first meeting, Rocky Mountain Power told me, hey, we want the Public Service Commission to determine what that fee would be. Vivint Solar and myself, we agreed, let's let the Public Service Commission determine what that net metering fee would be. The second meeting came and they had done some homework and they realized that across the country, when this was studied, most public service commissions felt like this fee, an appropriate fee would be between $7 and $12 per month. So I can put a solar system on my home, buy 90% of my power through my solar, and I'm only going to pay a $7 to $12 fee per month. Historically across the country, as this has been determined. Rocky Mountain said no, that fee should be closer to $50 a month. $50 a month in many cases sucks up whatever savings you just saved by buying or having solar. So suffice it to say, I just got up and walked out of the room. That was meeting number 2. They did coax me to come back for 11 more meetings, and I think we've got that worked out, and then you'll see the Public Service Commission in my bill will be the one to determine what that fee will be. It will be a lot different than $50, I promise. I don't know in the end what Public Service Commission fee will be, but I guarantee you will not be anywhere near that number. I hope that answers your question on that. Another one.
Let's move on. We're gonna have to get to all of them. And just, I know you don't have your glasses, Representative Gibson, but that red card when he holds it up.
It looked green. I'm sorry.
All right, I'm going to take a fun question, and I think I had this one coming. This last week on Facebook, I received a letter. It actually wasn't a constituent from the district. It was from somebody in Moab, and they asked about the BYU Utah controversy. So my question, I'm going to read the question that says, just to hand to him. This isn't a real question, and I'll read the real question. It says, Representative McKell, your son is a Ute. My youngest son, Dallin, is definitely a Ute fan. So it says, your son is a Ute. Somebody clapping? There's like two people. Okay. It says, you shoot cougars. Are you in the wrong county? Okay. So here's the question here, and this would be interesting to see what my colleagues have to say. As a BYU fan, do you support forcing Utah to play basketball with some sort of legislative action? And my simple answer is no. I mean, we've got way too many important things to do. But I had this coming because I posted it on Facebook, and I had a letter that was urging us to do that. I knew it would cause a little consternation, but it was a good debate. It ended with, I think somebody dropped the F word on my wall, so I deleted it. But so it wasn't. Yes, it may have been to you. Yes, I remember that. So I deleted that. So we are public officials, and we can take a lot of things, but don't ever put the F word on my Facebook page because I'll delete it. So I'm going to stop. I want to hear what these guys have to say. This is a good question.
Regarding the basketball game, I don't think there should be legislative action, but every time I talk to the lobbyist, I ask him, I say, we got that basketball thing figured out yet? And he told me he thinks he does, by the way, so he said, keep your eyes on the newspaper, we think we got something figured out. We'll see.
I thought they played in Las Vegas this year.
Okay, Senator Henderson, you have a question?
Yes, it's a good one. I'll save the medical cannabis one for later. So this one says Senator Henderson and Hinkins, so listen up, David. SB 38 is talking about equalizing charter school funding. You both cover rural districts. How many charters are in your district, and why did you vote for and against? I think you voted against, I voted for, right? So why did you vote for and against this on second reading? So I don't know how many charters there are in my Senate district. There are a lot of them, but I have never actually counted them. The reason I voted for this bill, and I got some great feedback from our own school district, Nebo School District, and Provo. I actually have Alpine Provo, tiny bit of Alpine Provo, and Nebo school districts in my Senate district. And I was concerned about the funding level, and I've always been concerned about the funding level with Nebo school district. I mean, it's just not been adequate, right? It's been very, very low compared to the rest of the state, and so that was a concern of mine. What happened is that last year when the property tax increase passed, it's a $75 million property tax increase, and charter schools were left out of benefiting from that. And so right now, and I've got a couple of numbers here, so these are last year's numbers, but Nebo school district students got $6,201 per student with everything except federal money, okay? That's all state money and property tax. ALA got $61.42 per student, Reagan Academy got $56.60 per student, APA, American Preparatory, got $57.54 per student. So there is a gap there. The charter school students are funded at a lower level than district school students. And with the property tax increase, bringing the Nebo school district and others up to at least the statewide average, which last year was $6,667. That gap just gets wider and wider. And my feeling is every child in the state of Utah deserves, and under our state constitution, is entitled to a good public education. And so charter schools are public schools, and why are we deeming the value of one child less than the value of another child? And so that was my thinking here, that I think that the kids should all be treated equally. This is not money that's going to schools, it's not money that's going to school districts, this is money for students and for their education, and that's why I voted for it. It is circled on second. In the Senate, we debate every bill twice. We have the second reading is really the first time we actually debate a bill on the floor, and then the next day we go to third reading, and that's when the bill is up for final passage in the Senate. And so it's circled on the third, actually. It's circled on the calendar because we do have some questions, and we want to make sure that what we're doing is fair and equitable for all students and not harming any school districts. So,
Circled means pause.
yes, sorry.
Okay,
It's on hold.
So Representative Roberts, do you have a question?
Well, can Senator Higgins follow up
sure.
with that one?
Go ahead.
Okay, I voted against the bill, Senator Stevenson's bill, Senate Bill 38, and a lot of my counties, school districts, every county in Carbon does have a charter school in there, but every county would lose about $200,000 out of their, and we're a small district, we don't have a lot to operate on anyway, and we would lose, I think it's around $250,000, and being, not even having a charter school in our county, I feel it's unfair to take money from our rural schools and give to charter schools, because, you know, if they want to do it within their own areas or something, it might be one thing, but to take from a small rural area like Paiute County or somebody that really struggles and stuff, to take money from them and give it to a charter school in Salt Lake is, I feel unfair, so I voted against it.
My turn. There's a few up here, these are yours, sorry, that are quick questions. So one was the Tesla bill didn't pass last year, and I don't see any numbers there to address this issue yet. Can we expect to see this law change to allow car manufacturers to sell direct? So Representative Kim Coleman is running the bill. I'm not sure who asked this question. She's running the bill. It's not numbered yet, but it's titled New Auto Dealer Franchise Amendments, and I know they're working on it. I was talking to her. I sit next to her on the House floor. I was talking to her yesterday, and Representative Brad Wilson has been working really hard. He serves in leadership with Francis to get this done and put it together. I was talking with him about it the other day, and looks like there's an agreement between the new car dealers and Tesla, and the manufacturers have now gotten into this year, and so hopefully we should see a numbered bill very soon so we can debate it and hopefully get it through this year, get it through the House. Another quick question was, and I'll just do these quick ones real quick, since the LDS Church has taken a no stance, this is probably a moot point, but which of you intends to support medical cannabis this year? And I'll let others respond if they want to, but I intend to still support it. I've been supporting Madsen's bill, and if we can get it over to the House, I'll be supporting that in the House. What's my time looking like?
You got like 8 minutes left.
8 minutes? Maybe I'll address these other ones the next time around.
That'd be great, thanks. Does anybody else want to respond to that?
Yeah, obviously there are two bills that are out there, they're competing. One has whole plant and the other one does not. Just as a point of reference, I was the first, not the first, but one of the ones who supported Gage Rohr's bill 2 years ago to do with oil and seizures, and it was sort of a controversial bill. I supported that, and I will wait and see which bill comes, but I probably, like Mark, leaning to support the cannabis bill as well. For me, it's a personal issue. If you know someone, a family member or a friend or something, your opinion may be different than if you don't. And it's almost like you don't know unless you walk in another man's shoes or a woman's shoes in this case as well. And until you do, you can't really make that judgment. And if it's something that helps people find temporary relief, I'd be inclined to probably listen and support them.
I think that legalizing marijuana would be no different than alcohol. Those that's going to participate going to do it anyway, legally or illegally. And I think that prescriptions, I think it should be overseen as well by the doctors. That maybe there's some instances, and I live not close to Grand Junction, but not far either, and we're starting to see some of the already coming over into our area. And so there's going to be recreational, and there's going to be, for health reasons. And so but those that, it's like prohibition. I imagine when it was alcohol, I was wondering how prohibition was when they had alcohol. It was illegal in this country, and to see marijuana. And I think it would maybe cut down on all the drug trafficking and stuff we're seeing from Mexico. And I know it's a gateway to other drugs, but it seems like this might be a lesser evil than some of the opioid problems that we have in the area too, that maybe something of lesser. Marijuana, I understand, it's not as bad as opium, so I guess there's pros and cons either way, but you can't legislate morality, and I think that's basically what it is.
And I'll weigh in similar to what Senator Hinkin said. I'm dealing with opioid abuse, and if I had to pick, and obviously I wouldn't pick either, but if it was my friend and I could pick heroin or marijuana, right? Because opioids, that's what it is. One of my concerns. So to answer the question, I lean towards supporting it. I'm anxious to see which bill comes over. Maybe both bills come over. I don't know. One of my concerns though, as I look at prescription drug abuse and opiate abuse, is there is a blanket chronic pain built into the Madsen bill right now, and I don't know that it comes over that way. And that's something that always causes me pause, because chronic pain and pain clinics, we're every month, 25 to 30 people die every month because of prescription drug abuse. And a lot of that ties back to chronic pain. Let's keep funneling the drugs out, and that's a concern. Again, for veterans, we're #1 in the nation for prescription drug deaths. For regular people, we're 4th in the nation. So I think we have to be careful as a concept. Would I rather have my friend, if he had to be hooked on marijuana or heroin? It's a pretty easy choice. So as a concept, I like the concept, and there is research that says that medical marijuana will drop the death rate with prescription drug abuse, and I think that's helpful, and that's something we need to look at carefully.
Thank you. Representative Thurston, do you have
Can I change the topic?
a question? Yeah.
I got a whole bunch of them. I'm going to try to do 3 real quick. So one, asset forfeiture, House Bill 22, Brian Green's law. They switched me over to the Judiciary Committee for the interim, which was very painful, but I made it. On the books right now, if you are accused of a crime, the law enforcement can take the property that you were using to further that crime. So for example, if you were dealing drugs out of your car, selling drugs out the door, they can come and take your car. The standard of evidence for the government to keep your car is much lower than actually being convicted of a crime. And so we're seeing a lot of cases where people's assets are seized, they're actually never convicted of a crime, and they never get their assets back. And so Representative Green's bill addresses that, and I think that's an important step in individual property rights. Second one, quickly, State Board of Education, how are the elections going to be handled this year? I don't know. So right now, if nothing changes right now, everybody who files will probably be on the November ballot. That's the way it looks. There's no sifting committee. The governor has indicated that he's not going to reduce the number, and so right now everybody who files will probably be on the final ballot unless we get a bill to address that. So that's been kind of messed up by the courts. We tried to fix it last year. We couldn't come to an agreement between the House and the Senate, and we're stuck there. Last one, weapons on public transportation, my bill, House Bill 67. It's on the third reading calendar. It's coming up soon. This is another one that has to do with law enforcement having a little too much power. If you have a pocket knife in your pocket walking down the street, that's perfectly legal. You step on an ETA bus and you don't have a concealed carry permit for that pocket knife, you're committing a felony. Why? And so we're trying to take that off the books. There's some other things related to that one, but that's the essence of what the bill is about. So just by the way, be careful. UTA is not going to dial you up for a felony or for carrying a pocket knife on the bus. But if you do other things, if you start a fight and they find a pocket knife, it's going to be bad. So don't just be careful until we can get that fixed. And then I've got two other tools to do that. Not even start a fight, just start a fight.
Okay. Well, I'm afraid we're out of time. I know there's lots of questions, so a couple of things. First of all, if your question didn't get answered, I think some of the legislators will be able to stay afterwards and visit a little bit. Maybe you can visit with them one-on-one or small groups. But we're going to give you 2 minutes each to wrap up. And if there is a question or a couple of questions that you really wanted to address, you have your 2 minutes. You can spend the time doing that, or you can use it however you see fit. I think what we'll do, if it's okay, is we'll go back to our order on the program and start with Senator Henderson, and then we'll move down the program.
Okay, thank you. I just want to point out a couple of things. So I'm on the Social Services Appropriations Committee, and we deal with the largest budget in the state. Most of the money that we deal with is federal money. We don't have a lot of control over. But I want to point out a couple of things. In order to get the federal money, this wonderful free money that we love to get, it costs us money. We have to put money up front. And there are a lot of strings attached to that money. And a lot of times the things that we have to do to get that money don't make a lot of sense and cost us a lot more than if we would have been able to just pay for the program with our own funds. There's an ongoing Medicaid expansion debate. It will be ongoing again this year. And I want to point out a couple of things. In the course of the work on my committee, I have learned that this year I learned that Medicaid spending in the year 2000 was 13% of our general fund budget. Now, general fund is, we've got these couple of pots of money. General fund is the money that pays for everything except education, although a lot of higher ed is also taken out of that general fund. 13% of our general fund in 2000 was Medicaid. Last year, it was 24% of our general fund. 24%. That's without Medicaid expansion. Medicaid expansion would eat far more into our general fund, and as our sales tax revenues continue to drop because people are not paying the sales tax that they owe on their online purchases, it is owed and they don't pay it, and because of that and other economic reasons, our general fund money is shrinking. So if you want to, going back to Representative Thurston's point about the WPU being funded, education being funded at the end of the stream, Medicaid is right there at the upstream from that. And the more you take out of there, the more you'll have to put higher ed into eating up some of the K through 12 money, the income tax money. It's all related. It's all related. We cannot have everything. We have to make decisions and priorities. So thanks for being here this morning. I appreciate it.
Hey, Senator Hinkins, just a 2-minute wrap up. Anything you want to talk about?
Yeah, I would like to talk about it. I know that everybody's driven towards solar, like my friend here, and the windmills and stuff, but keep in mind that the extraction industry pays a lot of money into our economy. In Wyoming alone, their economy, because of the oil downturn and because of the holdup on the BLM properties, last year they got $760 million in revenues. This year they're getting $25 million in revenue, and that's in their state budget. So you know how well Wyoming's been financed, and it's because of the extraction industry. When you start shutting down the mines and the gas and the oil, and you'll notice out in the Uinta Basin, your school trust fund's about $2 billion, so you can we send about $600 million just to the federal government in extraction industries. We get about $300 million of that back annually. And that will cease to exist when we start doing that. So think of all the jobs and stuff we lose. When the windmills, and I was, when you start talking mining and stuff, I'd like to give you some statistics. A 2 megawatt windmill contains 260 tons of steel, which is 170 tons of coking coal and 300 tons of iron, all mined and transported and produced by hydrocarbons. A windmill can spin until it falls apart and never generate as much energy as it is invested in the building of it. And we need to keep that in mind. And we're going to lose a lot of money to our education because of it. And so it sounds nice to be green and everything, but think about the solar and the wind, how much money that's going to give you back in royalties. I mean, it's not. It's subsidized industries, and so keep that in mind when you're thinking about it also. Thanks.
I'll go. I love Senator Hinkins. He's a good friend of mine. And, I grew up in Southeast Texas. We produce 15% of the nation's oil and gas. So when it comes to an oil and gas person, you're not going to find someone who's going to disagree with them. However, I disagree with Rocky Mountain Power killing people's ability to choose to put solar. On my particular bill, and I don't want to debate back and forth, I'm just going to say this, that there are over 300,000 homes in Utah, and there are less than 600 homes that are fully outfitted with solar because of regulation. And if someone wants to do it, I'm just trying to make it easier for them. I'm not producing or advocating that oil and gas or coal extraction be stopped. Finally, I'll just say this, our general fund budget is flat. There is no growth this year. It will be tough. Our education budget has just under $300 million in surplus. The good thing about that is that's a reflection of our unemployment rate in the state of Utah. We have the second or third lowest unemployment rate in the state of Utah currently. That is a good thing that people are working. There are lots of jobs out there. I don't want you to take notice. Regardless of the level of job, see how many help wanted signs are available. And so there are opportunities for people to work if they want to work. I'm grateful to be in a state that's managed the way it is. Do we disagree? Absolutely. Everyone has an opinion. And I would encourage everyone to be active and try to be involved in one way or the other. The fact that you're here tonight or this morning means you're involved and you want to be involved. And so we welcome everyone to the process, and thanks for being here.
It's good being here. Thank you for waking up this morning to be here. I just want to close by saying truly my most rewarding thing for me is to see members of the community engaged on Capitol Hill. One of the questions on here that I didn't get to respond to, and I know this came from the mayor, and that's okay, and it may not have, but it came from somebody close to the mayor, is about a resolution I'm running that deals with ownership of some of our water infrastructure. And I bring this up because it's been great to see the involvement of Spanish Fork City in the process. I have a bill that basically says to reclamation, that the repayment has been made. It's time to transfer some of that water infrastructure back to the state of Utah. And a couple weeks ago, I got a call from the mayor that says, hey, we really don't we like the concept, we don't like the resolution. And I got to meet with Mayor Brailsford, Mayor Leifson, Mayor Moore, and the Highline Canal. And my favorite part about serving is having the opportunity to represent this community and find solutions for this community. So thank you, Mayor. We're working on it. The bill in the end will be favorable to Spanish Fork. I don't know if this question came for you or not, but my invite to the session is as things move forward, call, email, I will respond. Come visit us on Capitol Hill. I know we've seen many of you already. We actually had the entire city council up. I know Chad is our new member of the city council. He came up with Stacy Beck, new member, and Mike Mendenhall. Mike Mendenhall, who works for the League of Cities and Towns, was there as well. And it's been an honor to work with you. And as you have issues, bring them to us. I'm going to end with one last bill. Line of duty death benefits for our fallen officers and health insurance. That's a bill that came to me from Nanette Rye, somebody in our community, and that's something that we passed in committee unanimous this week. And again, the most rewarding bills for me are those bills that come from you, and when I have a chance to work with our community, so thank you.
Thank you as well for coming, and I will just want to say some of the best days up on the hill are when constituents, you guys show up and come sit by me on the floor and talk to me, or some of my favorite days are when the school kids come up. We get 5th graders, high school kids come up, and we get to go speak to them. It's refreshing, and it kind of gets you out of everything that's going on. You go talk to some kids with fresh minds, and those are some of my favorite days. Just gonna answer one question here real quick on one of the bills I had. It's called Feelings on Food Freedom Act. It was addressed to me. It's my bill. So Wyoming passed this last year. What it does is it deregulates direct producer to consumer sales of food and food products. So for example, if Norm here makes an awesome pumpkin pie, right, and it's a killer pumpkin pie, and he grows these pumpkins and makes pumpkin pie, well, I can't go buy them, and I want some of them as the consumer. The consumer's driving this whole food movement. I can't go buy the pumpkin pie from him unless he goes and gets licensed, registered, inspected, and builds a commercial kitchen. But he can give the pumpkin pie to me all day long. He can give it away, he can give it to his neighbors, we can have bake sales, we can go to our wards and our neighborhoods and have food bake-offs and stuff, but if I want to buy it from him, I can't do it because he's got to go through all these hoops. Now, the bill also includes dairy and poultry sales. One representative told me, he said, hey, when I was young, I would milk my cow, fill up these mason jars with raw milk, and I'd go around and sell it to my neighbors. And that's how I earned money as a small kid and raised money for my mission, different things. Then when my boys were young, I made them go out and milk the cow. And they filled up the mason jars and they sold it. They earned money. I taught my boys to work hard and how to do that. And I looked at him and I said, that's awesome. Well, I can't do that today. I can't teach my boys to work hard in that same way because it's illegal. If my neighbor wants to buy some of the raw milk from my dairy cows, maybe I have 1 or 2 out back, I can't do it. It's illegal. So that's what this bill addresses. I found out how big of a deal it was yesterday to large agriculture. So we'll see where it goes from here.
Okay, the new guy gets the last word apparently. So I just want to echo the comments about how fun it is to be involved with people. I initially thought when I was getting into this it'd be fun to be involved in policy. It turns out that's not as fun as I thought. But I still do it. But being involved with people, that's the payoff. Being able to step out of a committee. Yesterday I was able to step out of a committee, come take a picture with our friends from Stringville Art Museum and talk about a bill that's coming up. We won't go into that today, but get their feedback on something that I wanted to get their feedback on. I wanted to know how to feel about that. Spend the time, shake the hands, take some pictures, and hear from you guys. So definitely, I think that this is, you've heard it multiple times now. Make the time every session to come up for at least a couple of hours one day. If you have to take a day off work, if you have to do something, it's worth it. It's worth it to be up there for part of a day, sit on the floor with your representative or your senator, hear what's going on, see how it works, walk 6 miles from the parking lot to the building or whatever it is you need to do. It's definitely worth being involved on the individual level. And we love it. I'm looking down there, I can't see anybody here that is anything but thrilled to get a note that says you've got somebody from your district that has driven up here and wants to spend half an hour or an hour with you and just see what you do, see how this all works. That makes my day every time it happens.
Okay, thank you. Let's give them a round of applause. Okay, I just want to announce real quick, our next Bills and Bagels activity will be on Saturday, February 27th at 7:30 a.m. in this room again, and so we invite you to come join us then. We really appreciate our 2 state senators and our 4 state representatives for being here and taking time. I think some of them may be able to stay a little bit longer. If you have questions for them, feel free to catch them. Thanks for coming and being with us, and thanks for your interest in our communities.